Part 1 of The Case of Wagner, Nietzsche Contra Wagner, and Selected Aphorisms by Friedrich Nietzsche. Translated by Anthony M. Ludovici, 3rd edition. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Translator's Preface. Nietzsche wrote the rough draft of The Case of Wagner in Turin during the month of May 1888. He completed it in Sils Maria towards the end of June of the same year, and it was published in the following autumn. Nietzsche Contra Wagner was written about the middle of December 1888, and although it was printed and corrected before the new year, it was not published until long afterwards, owing to Nietzsche's complete breakdown in the first days of 1889. In reading these two essays we are apt to be deceived by their virulent and forcible tone, into believing that the whole matter is a mere cover for hidden fire, a mere blind of aesthetic discussion, concealing a deep and implacable personal feud, which demands and will have vengeance. In spite of all that has been said to the contrary, many people still hold this view of the two little works before us, and as the actual facts are not accessible to everyone, and rumours are more easily believed than verified, the error of supposing that these pamphlets were dictated by a personal animosity, and even by Nietzsche's envy of Wagner and his glory, seems to be a pretty common one. Another very general error is to suppose that the point at issue here is not one concerning music at all, but concerning religion. It is taken for granted that the aspirations, the particular quality, the influence, and the method of an art like music are matters quite distinct from the values and the conditions prevailing in the culture with which it is in harmony, and that however many Christian elements may be discovered in Wagnerian texts, Nietzsche had no right to raise aesthetic objections because he happened to entertain the extraordinary view that these Christian elements had also found their way into Wagnerian music. To both of these views there is but one reply: they are absolutely false. In the Ecce Homo, Nietzsche's autobiography, a book which from cover to cover and line for line is sincerity itself, we learn what Wagner actually meant to Nietzsche. On pages 41, 44, 84, 122, 129, etc., you cannot doubt that Nietzsche is speaking from his heart. And what does he say? In impassioned tones he admits his profound indebtedness to the great musician, his love for him, his gratitude to him, how Wagner was the only German who had ever been anything to him, how his friendship with Wagner constituted the happiest and most valuable experience of his life, how his breach with Wagner almost killed him, and we remember too that Wagner on his part also declared that he was alone. After he had lost that man, Nietzsche, we begin to perceive that personal bitterness and animosity are out of the question here. We feel we are on a higher plane, and that we must not judge these two men as if they were a couple of little business people who had had a suburban squabble. Nietzsche declares, Ecce Homo, page 24, that he never attacked persons as persons. If he used a name at all, it was merely as a means to an end, just as one might use a magnifying glass in order to make a general but elusive and intricate fact more clear and more apparent. And if he used the name of David Strauss without bitterness or spite, for he did not even know the man, when he wished to personify culture philistinism, so in the same spirit did he use the name of Wagner when he wished to personify the general decadence of modern ideas, values, aspirations, and art. Nietzsche's ambition throughout his life was to regenerate European culture. In the first period of his relationship with Wagner, he thought that he had found the man who was prepared to lead in this direction. For a long while he regarded his master as the saviour of Germany, as the innovator and renovator who was going to arrest the decadent current of his time, and lead men to a greatness which had died with antiquity. And so thoroughly did he understand his duties as a disciple, so wholly was he devoted to this cause, that in spite of all his unquestioned gifts and the excellence of his original achievements, he was for a while long regarded as a mere literary lackey in Wagner's service, in all those circles where the rising musician was most disliked. Gradually, however, as the young Nietzsche developed and began to gain an independent view of life and humanity, it seemed to him extremely doubtful whether Wagner actually was pulling the same way with him. Whereas theretofore he had identified Wagner's ideals with his own, it now dawned upon him slowly that the regeneration of German culture, of European culture, and the transvaluation of values which
Sample complete. Ready to continue?